everything begins with an idea. Everything. We all have ideas. A lot of us, like Les Brown says, take them to the grave. The richest, like he says, the richest place in the world is the graveyard, because most people die with all these ideas because nobody wants to share them. Nobody's brave enough to share them. Nobody believes enough in themselves to share them, to be brave enough to just say it.
Welcome back to Auxano, where we discuss our guests, causes of growth, and our causes of change. Today, I am actually with somebody who was able to help me with the podcast, because when I was looking for guests in ideation alone and during the process, he was one of the first people to say yes. And I actually wanted to read the DM I sent him. DJ, I saw that you were a man on a mission. In that way, I feel we are alike, because my podcast, Auxano, means causes of change or the causes of growth in Greek, where I speak with my guests and get to know their story. Humans have been able to shorten the learning curve because people tell their individual stories. I pray this reaches you, so you might bless the others who haven't had a DJ Flores as a resource yet. And history is as follows.
Here we are, huh?
Here we are. So, who are you and what do you do?
Dude. So first off, thank you, obviously, for the message, for having me on this thing, and just for the connection. I'll tell you, quick, easy background to me that I tried to figure out instead of going a long-winded story. And I like to leave now the stuff out there and just give the meat, and if people want to ask questions, so dig into it if you want. But I'm a private school, hardcore, traditional raised family, oldest of 4, and Mexican and Italian, raised diehard Catholic, ended up LDS Mormon. Now I guess I'd say maybe more of an omnist, if that makes any sense, and but just believe in the good wolf, and the whole, again, I'm sure we'll talk about that, but yeah. The whole meaning of the good wolf and just the background of that's me, and I'm a unshakable optimist is what I figured out, so that's my title.
I love it, and yeah, I mean, what's really funny about when I first DM'd you on LinkedIn, I didn't think that you'd actually respond, because I think I had maybe 100 connects or so at the time. And I remember thinking, what is Feed the Good Wolf? And I remember the Native American story, and we'll definitely touch on that later. But as per usual, we have a game called Let's Get Deep. So
I love it.
So these questions, actually, I've never actually seen. If they're sexual in nature, I'll throw one of the cards out. But you choose between you have to choose between the 2 cards, level 1, level 2, level 3. We start at level 1.
Okay.
Level 1 is Icebreaker. Feel free to take both cards. Feel free to take one. But my recommendation is to answer one of the cards. So,
yeah. Easy enough.
Okay.
Sounds good, man.
Is that the card you're choosing?
I like this, yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
This is good. So I'm probably a tough one for this question. I only had it. So it's, what's the best hangover cure?
Okay.
I only had a short period of being a big drinker. Was college. Really never had a hangover problem. I guess I never drank that much. Don't drink at all really now. Occasionally, maybe just to be social, but I'm not a big drinker, so that's a tough question. But I don't. Supposedly cold pizza.
Cold pizza? Was that you?
That's maybe that's one of those old wives' myths or something.
Okay.
I don't know.
I love it. Oh man. Well, moving on to level 2.
All right. We'll go this side this time. Let's see what we got. Did you ever throw a house party? When? How was it? So Man,
What? Yeah, these questions are completely random. So
I'm the lamest probably guest you'll have, but no. So private school, and this I'll tie this to it.
I
But
kind of want to give you this card too.
okay, yeah.
But
Perfect. But so private school, I really feel like the way I grew up again, that hardcore tradition, most family. So my mom didn't work. My dad only worked, but worked all the time. So like my mom was my mom and my dad, but I figured out I'm a mama's boy and was raised that way, which definitely helped me in a lot of ways. So thank you, Mom. But literally, I didn't hang because I didn't. I was like the Karate Kid of my time, of that world. Like I didn't really fit in, and so like other people had parties. I wasn't a big. Again, I wasn't a big drinker. I never got into trouble.
You're a good kid.
I was a very lame kid.
Well, let's read this one, and hopefully, if it's not different, we're just throwing it out. Okay?
No, it's okay. Okay, this is a good one. So who was your favorite teacher growing up and why? So this, it's funny. I have to give her a shout out. So she was my math teacher, and math. I feel like the more I listen to people like Gary Vee, those kind of people, they all didn't like school for one reason or another because it just didn't connect in a way. That was me. Business, money, monopoly, that was my game when I was a kid. According to my mom, I was counting money and change before I think could do other things. There was just the tie there, but everything else in school didn't make sense. But this teacher I want to say she was my 4th or 5th grade math teacher. And it was funny because at that time, again, I went to a very small private school. My graduating class was 12. We were the same 12 people from 2nd grade to 8th grade. And that's when I started there, was 2nd grade. And again, it was different because my parents were young. Their parents are a lot older. Yeah. My parents took the hard road in the game of life, and the other ones took a lot of the smarter, more traveled road. And so yeah, dude, it's this teacher though. She tied a lot of things to me about the Mexican Italian, and she loved me because she knew I was Italian, and her husband was Italian. She was this little old sweet Polish lady, and she was like, "Oh, and she jinxed me though, so I have to tell her that my ex was a Polish girl, and she said I would marry a Polish woman. Bad call there, but yeah, literally,
Wow.
there was a big tie with her, so I just loved her for that.
I love how that. Obviously, your emotions about talking about her leave such a good impression. Like the fact that teachers can leave such a strong impression on students. In my personal opinion, I don't think they get paid enough. They don't get paid enough at all.
Amen.
So that's just me. But I would, yeah, like I'm sure there's a mass majority that's like, yeah, they don't get paid enough. Are you kidding me? Yeah, but moving on to.
Yeah. Oh, deeper. Here we go. How do you keep track? How do you keep yourself going when you lack motivation? Man, so I'll tell you, I love that question came up because I think, and I seen, it's funny, I seen, why can't I think of his name now? He is the dude who is motivation to a core.
Is he big on YouTube right now?
Yeah. Why can't
It's not Gary Vee. Right?
No.
Is it Alex Ramosi?
No.
David Goggins?
There you go.
It's David Goggins?
David Goggins.
Okay.
Seen a video recently, David Goggins, and the kid asked about how do you, very similar question. And David had the greatest answer that I think people were probably shocked, and I'll say even me, I was shocked at first when he said it, but he was like, I don't always wake up, and I'm like, I'm David fucking Goggins, like, and I'm ready to go, like, I have shitty days too, like, I'm human. Yeah. And I was like, yes, like, that's just the truth, like, I think people need to understand, like, yeah, I might seem like I'm happy and everything's good, but, I mean, what I figured out in sales is probably the thing that hardened me the most, but, like, made me kind of realize give me the teeth you need to survive in what this game of life really is. But you have to. I learned something that's been a struggle, probably the hardest for me. Up until recently, I heard somebody say, I forget where they learned the rule, but like a 5-minute rule, I think he called it. But then he even said, like, you could be miserable. Like, give yourself that day. Like, even a day, like the rule was 5 minutes. Give yourself 5 minutes and then, like, go on. Like, if it's that bad, like, give yourself the day. But, like, the next day, and I was like, yes, because there's so much power to that. Because, like, I honestly think, like, as soon as I started doing that, it was easier to deal with anything. You know what I'm saying? Because then you can literally just gauge it. I mean, it's prioritizing like anything. So it's, okay, how much did this suck? How much does this hurdle, these things, this whatever? Yeah. How bad is it? And do I need the day? Do I need 5 minutes? Do I need 5 hours? You know, what do I need?
So do you, especially when it comes to certain expectations, or when it comes to thought process, do you come at a point to where those 5 minutes, they're all internal, and you're asking yourself, how does this serve me? Or you're asking yourself, in what way can I internalize this to make the future better? Is that the way? Okay.
100%. 100%. That's exactly what it is. I've noticed, and I think, and I guess that's probably besides belief and people believing in themselves, that's what the lesson I needed to learn the hardest, but is I think people need to learn that these feelings, these whatever they want to avoid, they're there for a reason. Like there's something telling you something. And I like to pretend or believe that it's me as a 7-year-old kid. You know, biology, belief, age of reason, a lot of things tie to that age. And I think now looking even to having a 7-year-old son, that I feel like is almost like a spitting image in a lot of ways. And trying to figure out like what is he in his mind going through. Mm-hmm. That's where I will, if I feel that now, any of those feelings, that's meditation time. Like that's okay. We got to go away. Let's have this deep within talk with that 7-year-old, and let's see what's going on. Like, and what do I need to learn from this? There's something, and I think again, I don't want to make people lose sight of how easy or real it could be. If it's not simple or easy, I guess easy is the wrong word, but how you can simplify how easy those feelings you can manage. Yeah. If you first pull yourself away, figure out like what am I feeling? Okay, is it anger? What is the anger? Because there's a trigger to something, and everything's just patterns. And then once you figure that out, man, it's then it's figuring out, okay, do I need 5 minutes? Do I need 5 hours? Do I need the day? Like, again, lose one day. It's better to lose progress in one day than to keep having the shitty motivation or energy that you had and just keep that going day over day over day.
It reminds me of so when I went to therapy, when I essentially graduated from therapy, the parting words that my therapist told me was, life is the athlete's staircase. So oftentimes we look at life and we go up a block or we go up a step and we go, wow, that was really difficult. And then we're not necessarily like looking up at the next step, because like in the athlete's staircase, oftentimes we think of it just being an upward trajectory. When in reality, sometimes progress looks like going back a step and then jumping 3 steps up. And then sometimes progress also looks like just taking 1 step at a time. So.
Agree.
Yeah.
100%.
I really resonate with. And that actually reminds me, are you familiar or do you actively use the Pomodoro method? So it's kind of completely unrelated to the emotional aspect, but I feel like maybe it ties in pretty well. So the Pomodoro method, you're supposed to have active.
I wish I had a pen.
But you're supposed to have like active knowledge work. So kind of like how with a barbell, you know, like you could lift the 45. You start adding weight to it. Yeah. With the Pomodoro method, it isolates and like hones in on what you're trying to improve. So, like for example, like if it was, I don't know, like let's say like you didn't know what 4 plus 4 was, spending 25 minutes to learn what 4 plus 4 is, and then you take a break for a minute or two, and then you get back to it. Have you considered using like that method of like work and like self love in that regard too?
No, so I'll tell you, I've from listening to like Rob Dyrdek and certain things, and even just being with John Hewitt. John was the pure example of being very intentional, and I think some people, again, when you stop and explain and have to explain yourself to everybody, you might be doing that forever. So, regardless of what people might think of it, might have thought he was very short with his time, but I think it's just you have to be very intentional. Like we get 24 hours in a day, everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. So what does Vivek Ramaswamy's schedule look like right now? It's probably crazy. Who knows who he's talking to and where he's at, or Elon Musk with all the crazy stuff he's GFY, and all of that. Who knows what their schedule looks like? But they still only have 24 hours. So the more intentional you can be with every single moment, and that's what I think people be. I was the biggest guilt of that. That was probably the biggest lesson I learned was like I would beat myself up and spend so much time beating myself up for what I lost that I spent more time beating myself up for like the time that I was actually spend more time beating myself up than what I'm actually beating myself up for. And like I think a lot of people get stuck there, and it happened. Again, this was a book that changed my life. There's so many books, and knowledge is power. That's just learning from people's lessons. And some of these books are stories like a book I'm reading right now or listening to right now on Audible. Brian Tracy book, actually. Me and Coach were just talking about it, but he's never heard of it. And I'm like, really? It was written in 2015. It's basically about his buddies in the age of 20, which any kids, if you have, I don't know what your audience is, but anybody in your 20 and 30, start listening to people like Gary Brecka, like Ed Milet. Biohacking is a thing. It's real. I think Gerard, we were just talking about this. Gerard's number is 120. He said he's going to live to 120. I said 108. They're saying 140, according to Gary Brecka, is going to be the new threshold that people will live to. So 60 is the new 40. So again, that's just a number, and I think we get stuck in traditional ideas of those numbers. And 20 to 30, man, like Joe Rogan likes to talk about, like whoever this is, I think it was Gary Vee who said it, but that's your time to learn, take the risk, go do whatever is that inside calling you for. Do it, try it. Don't live with regret. That's what I'll tell anybody. Don't live with that.
So powerful. I think oftentimes too, a lot of people. So I was actually listening to the Iced Coffee Hour, and Alex Ramosi was featured on the podcast, and so he was talking about how there's a demographic between to where the threshold of where you're at and the lack of what you have. So for example, if you're hungry, you're probably going to go get food. If you are sad, you'll find ways to, essentially get happy. But there was a huge disconnect on if you were broke or poor. Why not try to go get rich? Why not try to leave this place of where you used to be and go for that when you do it your entire life? And so I think a lot of people now I'm not also saying that money has to be the end all be all goal.
Of course. Yeah, it shouldn't be. Well, so there's a huge difference, and this is what I think, a big Gary Vee, again, I'll shout his name a lot because I just
I'm a fan.
tie a lot to him,
too.
But he nails it where in my day, clearly, I've always had this vision for business. I started Teen Dance Club when I was 21. So, I always wanted to be involved in business. I didn't know what that really meant. And now they've romanticized it, like Gary Vee says, to the point that everybody wants to start a business, but now they don't know what they're getting into, and they also don't know who to listen to. And that's so there's so many like best advice, and the advice I hold on to is Rich Dad. And Robert Kiyosaki is going to be my Rich Dad till the day I die. But he literally, his advice of like ask the person whatever they're selling you or offering you if they use it or they do it themselves. And if they aren't, then they're just selling you something.
Yeah.
And like, it's that simple. I mean, it really is that simple. Like, if you believe in it enough, you're using it too. You're doing it too. And that's a Zig Ziglar thing. That's something. The first Zig Ziglar trainings I ever started. First book I ever read. I went through school, made it through even some college. I didn't graduate, but 2 years of college, and said it wasn't for me. But literally, never read a book. An actual full book, just what I needed to. That's it. Like, knew what I needed to know. Until Zig Ziglar, and I read this whole book, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is what's been missing. These people actually get it. But and I think that's where we're at in the world right now. That's where.
It's interesting that you say that too, because technically, like, I'm in the field of business, yet I hesitate to call myself an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur, 100%. Like, what have I truly built yet? Like, it's like I'm building, so I'll call myself a builder. But yeah, like I've noticed that there's a bunch of people that say like, "Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur."
And it's one, and you wear that proud, like you should. If you take the risk to do this, like, listen, I think I want to eventually write a book of the secret of life isn't a Rubik's cube, but really, like the game of life is a game, like it really is. Like if you can think of the actual game of life that is a board game that you spin this wheel and you could go this road or you go the school road, that's true. Like that's money. That's real. Like that's very, very valid in every way, in every sense, in real life. Like you're playing that, but then like you take that to the step further of the cash flow game with Robert Kiyosaki and Rich Dad and all of that, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that's where, like, now you understand the game, like, and then you decide what way do you want to go, and regardless of, again, that's today. There's a lot of, we were talking about LinkedIn is huge and Gary Vee is a big, again, beating the chest on. If you're a B2B or anything right now, he's saying LinkedIn is the Facebook is acting a lot like Facebook, connecting in a lot of different ways like that. So if you're not promoting on LinkedIn, you're crazy, and I agree. I mean, that's where my world all changed. That's how I'm even talking to you right now.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I'm this nobody in Cleveland that nobody knows, truthfully. I had no network. I had my family, my people, my circle that a lot of people get stuck in. And, it's going to be a risk to go that way, and that's where they say the lonely road, but it doesn't have to be lonely. That's the problem. I think we let our pride and ego keep us there. When there's a lot of people on that journey, that's what the big companies end up figuring out, man. That's what my mission in the end. I want small businesses that, like we're seeing in these networking, I took you to some networking things.
Yeah.
They're all struggling in the same boats, doing the same thing, but they can actually they have oars for each other's boats and could connect and be a more stable boat and be going the same direction together. A lot of them in a lot of different ways. And that's a lot of what corporate America is. But a lot of small business owners, the pride of this is mine. The pride of this is my baby. And this is it. There's a bigger picture to it all.
Yeah. I think this is a good segue in talking about accountability and affirmation of self, which I know that you're big on. Mm-hmm. So we should dive into that.
Dude, so I'll tell you. So really the connecting of the dots of everything for that. We have actually John Hewitt coming on the Robin Hood Capitalist on the 19th to share more of this. So I won't go too much, just depending on when this is released and stuff. But really, it's he connected the dots to Jesus was the person I was always following. Like he said a few times now. I heard him in the book I Compete, but then also heard him on a few podcasts that he was on say it. And then even heard him say it in person with me in Columbus, Ohio, that I'll never forget. But we were at a meeting with this guy, Craig. Shout out Craig. But Craig says, "Who's your mentor?" And I'm thinking, man, he's on the spot. Is he going to say it?
Mm.
Is he going to say some business person? He said, Jesus Christ. I'm like, whoa, okay, hold on.
That's pretty cool.
Like, that's powerful, but like, and I never knew what led me on that tough journey of, again, those feelings that I talked about, that inner thing, because Catholic, again, nothing against any religion, but I think when you really deep dive into the whole truth of it all, Jesus wasn't Christian, he was a Jew. And that's just what it is. But so Christianity is just people's opinions of what Christ was like, but that's their own views of it. And that's what I think I struggled with most, because I seen, you hear these stories. Again, going to private school, I don't know if you went to private, or anybody listening went to that, but like being privileged to have that, like that, if anything, I think my parents, like, and if your kids aren't learning about Jesus, like, find a way to learn about Jesus, because that was probably what made me beat myself up inside so much, because I was like, man, there's all these amazing stories of this guy, but I can't even be anything like that. And then I'm seeing all these other people, and they're nothing like it either. Like, is it real? Does it? And so I think there's that inner battle that you have there, that is that accountability. But then there's the forgiveness side that John Hewitt connected everything. When he blew my mind with, like, if you ever read I was wearing actually this shirt.
Nice.
We're sitting at lunch, me, him, and one of his right-hand people, Martha Gorman. She's amazing. She's the sweetest lady. I love her. From Cleveland. Actually grew up in the same area I grew up in, which is crazy. But so we're at lunch, and I have this shirt on, and he says, "Do you believe?" I said, "Believe? Like Jesus?" And again, I'm at first thinking, like, man, do you know me that much to know that, like, it was a battle? I never shared, like, that going from Catholic to Mormon. And then, again, Mormons, the LDS, like, anybody, and this is where it's just so screwed up, the views and outside voices on religions. Like, here's the truth, y'all. And this is why what led me to feeding the good wolf and the whole Cherokee story. When we make certain stipulations or different rules to make things muddy, and that's what's going on with information today, everybody gets skewed to their own side views. But if we just make it very simple, that just do the right thing, like do unto others the golden rule, as they would. So if you're involved in anything bad, don't be a part of it. Get out. Like, if you know something you're involved in is hurting somebody some way, you're doing something wrong. Like, find a way to fix it or get out of it. But, like, it should be that simple. But we've these rules and these different ideas and views and opinions. And again, everybody has a right to an opinion, and that's the great thing about why this world of this game was created to begin with. But it's so that we can share those opinions, even if we don't agree, come to some understanding. Know that, okay, you think the world is this, and everybody has to attack each other, and we're all fighting for the same bone, which is money, then, you're over there, and that's easy. But if we're not being very honest to what's inside, and that's where self-awareness and accountability, like, just be accountable for everything and anything, and then it was forgiveness. That was the big thing, the tie for me, because then it was, man, looking back, and I'll tell you, Carl Jung, I seen a quote from Carl Jung recently that said something about, like, the age of life doesn't start to 40, and I want to ruin that myth, because I think if more people are open to understanding this sooner, or getting these messages sooner, they'll know that, like, we're all the same. It doesn't matter on any level. Elon's fighting the same things that you fight, or I fight, or any human is fighting. Like, there are 7 things that are truly the 7 deadly sins that are truly affecting each and every one of us in some way, some more than others, and some different at different times. But it's real easy when you just simplify it like that. And when you can relate, like, okay, you're a different religion, but you might be battling with the same wrath that I'm battling with right now. I'm battling with all of these bad anger, feelings of you know what I'm saying? Then we can understand. Okay, easy. Now, so what are we doing then? How can we make things better? How can we do? And that's all it should be. that's what this world's about. That's what to me, that's what this game of life in this world is about. The more easier we can come together to figure that out, the less we have what's going on today.
I did want to segue into the Good Wolf.
Mm.
This is, I think, a phenomenal story. So, do you want to tell it?
If you want, I'd love to. You'd love to hear it.
All right. So, if I remember correctly, and for the future, if you are native and this is a story true to your heart, I'm sorry for butchering it.
Oh, stop.
But I remember reading this tale to where I believe it is a young boy who has the internal issue of the good and bad. But the good and bad was in the physical form of a dark wolf, a very dark wolf, versus a wolf white as snow, which in a literary device, white is supposed to be pure, devoid of mistake, devoid of like sin, for lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm.
And the black wolf, the dark wolf, is supposed to be filled with malice, wrath, rage, lust. Like, it's all the things that,
Mm-hmm.
goes against the decency of what humans strive for, at least to a degree of like civility. And I don't remember exactly what the dialogue was between the young boy and the shaman, I believe.
So it was actually his grandfather.
His grandfather.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a young boy and his grandfather, and his grandfather told him the story that there's a battle of two wolves inside of each and every one of us. And it was that. So it was Matthew McConaughey is when I first heard this story. So shout out Matthew McConaughey for changing my life on a YouTube video. But literally, he was giving this speech at some university, and he said this story of the old Cherokee grandfather telling his grandson, there's a battle inside of each and every one of us, of a good wolf and a bad wolf. And just like you said, but what I need people to understand, and this is where these stories, we got to go deeper with them to the understanding of it, and they connect. Love, the strongest form of love is directly and connected to the opposite, which is the hate. And there is strong on both of the good and the bad. And so like we need to connect that, because that's what we're all fighting in some way every day in one of those battles. And so there's the battle of the good, which is love, hope, joy, any good emotion that you feel. And to me, again, I'm a very simple person. Like I like things to be like, let's make this very simple. Forget all the big words to jumble it up and make it confusing. Like, let's make this so a third grader can understand this. And that's anybody marketing, that's advice. Like, make it third grade and everybody understands. But literally, so it's all these things he's saying is like, wow. So then I'm like, okay, that's what I'm feeling inside. Like, but that also makes sense. Jesus, love, God, heart, okay. All of these things are starting to make sense. So if that's God, that's love, that's Jesus, and this is the bad wolf. Is that the devil then? Is that the bad wolf? That's the battle. And then it was like, what really connected everything for me was like, okay, we're thinking, and again, there's probably other, and again, we can muddy it down and not have it be so simple, but with no brain function, you're done. With no heart function, you're done. Mm-hmm. That's the positive and negative. That is the energy that is the magic of this all, of this all. Again, Wayne Dyer, I heard him say they did a study. They took a 130-pound body when it died. As soon as it died, there's no brain function anymore, no heart function. They weighed the body. It's still 130 pounds. So what was making it work? Magic? Love? This? What is it? Everybody wants an answer to that, but forget finding the answer to it. Like, just think that it's as amazing as it is. And so that was the real tie to all of that for me. And I was like, okay, shit, this is easy. So, like, everybody's dealing with this. That's true. So then, like, I got to forgive them, and I forgive people a lot easier than I forgive myself. But then that's where it was John Hewitt and the book The Shack, which was like, wow. Like, And so anybody, if you haven't read the book The Shack, you don't like reading, there is a movie which is just as powerful and is just as amazing. Doesn't get into the finer details like books usually do, but still you'll get the point, I promise. And that was really like the eye opener that John Hewitt is big on. He loves people who make mistakes. He wants you to make mistakes. He wants you to speak first so you can make the mistakes, so then he can tell you, not to prove that he knows more, but just to let you make the mistake, because you learn from mistakes. And I could promise you, my tough road that I took, I learned real hard from those mistakes, but those are the only time I actually learned. When things are going good, I wasn't learning anything. Like, there's no learning in that time. So like, if you feel stuck, like you feel that battle, that's where I think people need to believe in themselves. They need to just go for it. Like, take the risk. Like, there's something there. That 7-year-old is saying like, hey, you're meant for more. Like, and I heard, actually, here I have it written down, but Earl Nightingale, me and Coach are starting a Think and Grow Rich 13-week program for the beginning of the year, to help people just get in the right mindset to make 2024 better than what this has been for a lot of people. Yeah. And Think and Grow Rich, I mean, amazing. That story was written in 1930, bro. Like,
Still applicable today.
Still more stronger than ever. I mean, the 20-year-old kid I met yesterday that I was telling you about at BNI, that was the first book he mentioned. I'm thinking, wow, why did you mention that? And then obviously I talked about our program. But so this we would give for free, but anybody, again, wants to sign up, we do have to charge $99 because of the John Maxwell Foundation. But Coach owns that and a few other rights to it, so we're going to bring that back out. But 13-week program that's going to dive into it. So I went back and have been reading the book, but then finding other people's stuff, and I ended up YouTubing and finding Earl Nightingale giving his version of Think and Grow Rich, and it's a record. And dude, it's so powerful. Like, y'all, if you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, just listen to this, and it will tie everything to you. But the reason I'm even saying this, there was something I wrote down from this that you said. You wouldn't have the desires you have, and this was Earl Nightingale saying this, wouldn't have the desires you have in your heart unless your abilities to achieve those already exist. Like, dude, think about that. Like, if there are things that you are dreaming of, you think are possible, that you're feeling inside, but you think there's no way, and everybody around you is telling you no way, like they're in there for a reason. I promise you. Like, go after them and just find people who will help you find them. And that's what John really, the people around him, his story, just all of that, I was like, wow, like, this is crazy. But that, again, feeding the good wolf is that, and it's the moral of it all is the wolf you feed is the wolf that wins. Like, if you're living more in the anger, the hurt, the 7 deadly sins, sloth, the greed, the anger, the wrath, any of those, if you're living more in that daily, and it's what we need to understand, and shout out to Rico Rakowski, but another guy I had on one of our podcasts, the first podcast I was on, Sales Chatter, and it was, he had this book, and again, very simple. He was a pilot. He was in the Air Force, I think, and then became a commercial pilot. But he used his instrument panel, and he said, there would be times, and even in the book, he shows, if this had clouds, you don't see anything. So you don't know if you're going up, going down, where you're going, except the instrument panels that are in front of you. And there's literally, he said, the one that you really is, if you're either going up or going down. And so he's like, there's just two choices. Like, literally, there is just two choices in everything in life. And when you can forgive yourself for the bad ones, because you're going to make a ton, but know that you make 40 to 50,000 choices a day, especially as an adult, you're going to make a lot of bad ones. Forgive yourself and just keep making the right as much as you can. That's just feeding the good wolf. And it was like, wow, okay, this game is easy. Like, I'm just going to keep giving like I'm doing. Well, that led me here to begin with. And just do what I think is right. What Jesus, with the mentor, showed us. Again, that's my mentor too now. Like, he gave the greatest playbook there is. there's going to be people who are going to tear you apart because of some of the crazy views or ideas, but like you got to stand on those anyways.
Yeah. I think this is a phenomenal segue also into, as a content creator yourself, and as somebody who is more a content creator on the business and the finance side, what are ways that you're continuing to promote thought leadership?
I'm glad you asked that. I want that to be more. And so we, with the Think and Grow Rich thing, and obviously Coach Stacy, I mean, our podcast, we're trying to get people to think. I heard John Taffer say this. Again, I drop a lot of names because, like you, and I feel like this isn't me. Like, no, I don't want to take credit for anything that I'm saying because, like, these are just amazing people that I'm really connected a lot of dots that I'm regurgitating this amazing wisdom that they've given me.
I disagree because, if it weren't for those people and you consuming their knowledge, like, I get that, like, some phrases or some words might come from them, but you're still your own person, still creating your own brand. So, I mean, I'd say that, like, obviously I do the same too. Like, I give credit to the people that I heard it from, but I mean you're doing your own thing.
Me and Coach Stacy are definitely guilty of that. But so John Taffer, I heard him say in a talk somewhere, again YouTube video, that if I can change the way you think, I can't help but change the way you live. And I was like, yes, like that's all you need to do is just give somebody an idea. Because again, back to Earl Nightingale. First thing he said, and the main concept and the whole theory of Think and Grow Rich is everything begins with an idea. Everything. We all have ideas. A lot of us, like Les Brown says, take them to the grave. The richest, like he says, the richest place in the world is the graveyard because most people die with all these ideas because nobody wants to share them. Nobody's brave enough to share them. Nobody believes enough in themselves to share them, to be brave enough to just say it.
Have you seen that Les Brown video? Les Brown talks about how, what would you want to do, or what regrets do you think you'd have when you were lying on your deathbed? And he goes on to say that there are, like, the physical personification of, like, let's say your talents, your hopes and dreams, like they're all sitting in the same room with you as you lie on your deathbed. And they're asking you why you didn't hone in and why you didn't execute, why you didn't even attempt. And I think, like Les Brown, he gets it right because
that haunted me when I heard him say that. So I never watched the video, but yeah, and it wasn't until David Goggins. So back to him, I remembered his name this time, but it was when I heard David Goggins say, like, and explain, like, yeah, I'm up at the pearly gates, and Jesus has this checklist, or God has this checklist, and he says, oh, you were supposed to do this, and you were supposed to do this, and 300 pounds, and, he's basically where he was stuck, because that was my story, like, but not my story because I was... See, and that's what I want people to understand, too. Like, that was my story for the comfort zones that I think a lot of people get into because they're chasing the wrong things. Cars, money, this, that, whatever. I mean, I was fortunate enough to, like, again, I played the game so reckless that, I started teen dance club with my family at 21. I used my income tax return to our knowledge of just DJing and stuff to rent equipment, rent a Knights of Columbus, go guerrilla market, hand out flyers at schools, and all of a sudden we're like on the news and getting shut down, and because there's people everywhere, and so like it was, but I also learned, like, in that journey I chased really fast, becoming then a regional money. I had 3 cars, this, that, boats, jet skis, this, all the things that people say that they want, and I wasn't happy, just like they keep talking about, just like you'll hear from everywhere. So, like, there's a purpose, like there's more of a purpose, and in that comfort zone is nothing but those 7 deadly sins that are there at every beck and call in every single way, even to the point of the lazy or sloth. But those comfort zones were where I did the most destruction to myself and everybody and anybody around me. I mean, those comfort zones were where I was at my max 3 different times in my life: early 20s, later mid-30s. Then the last time was just recently before COVID, pretty much. But I was at a max of 255 pounds. bad sleep apnea, acid reflux, everything terrible, but lots of money. Everything was good. That was the business is good. Everything's good there. That's not what this game is about. And it's understanding who you are too. Like I figured out my game, like who I am. I'm never gonna be able to stop. I'm one of those that I can't stop. And and it's not that I want more or I want anything. I just love like
It's kind of like a game.
yeah, it's a game. It is, yeah, it really is. I was a big gaming kid as a kid. Sega Master System, and even played the Atari before that. But Sega Master System was our first thing, and I literally, and this is where I seen in even some of my sons, but like they're relentless to if they see something like it's over and over and over. It could be to the death, repetition by a billion times. Like I mean, my oldest son, he didn't learn to walk to one, but he did the first step about a billion times. But after that, then it was automatic.
Yeah.
My son now, 7, wouldn't ride a bike, scared to death. That's a lot of, again, we all have these generational things too, and I think that's where we have to go back to that 7-year-old. But that again, there's nobody to blame. These are all scars that we are born with. These are the scars we got to battle. We're born with them in some way or another, and then it's just figuring those out, and they never go away. So it's always a constant.
Yeah.
And it's just knowing that you have to forgive yourself, and you're going to make mistakes. And that was, John Hewitt was the biggest thing to really, again, tie that to, like, okay, that's what I need to do. Like, that was the last thing I was missing. But, and there's a lot of other people, the age of wisdom, 40, outwitting the devil, Napoleon Hill says that, the Carl Jung, they say that. But I don't think you have to wait till that age. I think you just have to be willing to accept this. I think there's a lot of younger people. You're a big, deep, again, shout out to you, but you're deep to the core, man. And that's, I think there's a lot of kids like you, and I think I was that too. But there was nobody really bringing these kind of messages to me or us, or they weren't readily available enough that they connected enough to me, or they made it always, again, older. You'll figure it out older. Like, I don't think you need to wait. I think you can sense that. And the sooner you sense it, man, like, again, now, I will say there's been a billion times through this reckless road and journey that I heard Mike Tyson say this, that I wanted to die. Like, I didn't want to live. This life was too hard. Like, okay, what's the next life like? Like, what is this? What, is there heaven? Let's try. Let's see what that world's like. But now I can honestly say, and again, financially, not nowhere in any points in the comfort zones that I ever was in my life previous to this, but the journey, the passion for the purpose and what's going on is like the fuel that anybody really needs, or at least if you have that feeling like I had for the longest time, like that's what's calling you. You got to find that. And then once you find that, it's now like Mike Tyson. I mean, 108. We said that. I mean, my number's 108 now. You had asked me many times in the past. I just said tomorrow, today. But yeah, 108 is like, now I think like when you figure out the game, and that's what I love with Alex Hormozy. We've shout out Mosey Nation and Alex, but like what he's doing for people, like soak up his stuff. He's giving away free, amazing stuff that will help anybody in any business grow. Just do his stuff. You will grow.
So on the iced coffee hour, guess what he said his time was worth if you were to just hang out with him for an hour? Like, take a guess.
Well, I know he's said it in a few talks, like $100,000 or some crazy thing him and Layla are able to charge now.
Yeah.
But again, it's because of what he's already given out so much stuff, that $100 million offers and $100 million leads. Guys, if you're a company right now that's under what he says, under $3 million in revenue or under $1 million in clean EBITDA, get his books, follow his books religiously. You will be there. Then you'll thank him. Then you'll connect with him. And if it makes sense, you'll do business with him. But that's truly like, that's what he's done. That's what he's doing. It does work. Again, there's a lot of other opinions and ideas out there that muddy this water. What he says is very simple. There's only two ways to grow any business, like he says. More customers or make more from your customers you already have. Just by referrals or by getting them to buy more stuff.
Just execute.
But yeah, in the end, it's doing. And
he says it often, and it has become like second nature that he says it. And it's not like a Alex Ramosi quote, but oftentimes when he's musing, and like, because I've watched a lot of his podcasts and a lot of his interviews, he consistently says the work just needs doing. The work just needs doing. And I think if we were, because I'm guilty of it too, whereas like,
we all are.
Yeah.
We all are.
Like, I remember at one point in time, I used to think that, like, I need to wake up at, like, 4 in the morning to get, like, my workout in, like, bright and early, and then, like, by 6 a.m. sharp, like, I'm making calls. And, like, realistically, too, like, it just doesn't really make sense. Like, instead of, like, glorifying the schedule, just execute.
Do work.
But then just do the work. Like, you don't need to... I mean, I'm a champion of, like, bullet journaling and meditation and stuff, too.
Yeah.
But don't make that ritual, like, an hour or two when you could be doing 2
Don't let
hours
it
of
destroy
work.
your day or hold yourself victim to it. Yeah. In sales, again, that was probably one of the greatest things about being in sales for so long and then doing different businesses and franchises and stuff. But all of the different training and all of that, and a lot of it is time management and CRM and this and that. But again, they drill you to this where it's really leads to one word, and that's what I want people to believe yourself and forgive yourself often, and it's necessary. But like, forgive yourself, but then know what you have to do, and that's go right back to it. Okay, I didn't stick to that schedule, but I still have to do this. I know I didn't do it, but I'm gonna have to do it. And yeah, have those certain things, and that's. I was that way, and I am more of a disciplined person. Like, I do have to stick to it crazy, and my wife hates it. Yeah, my wife hates it, but I'm more so in that thread. I'm more like the Tom Bilyeu weirdo. I don't know if you know Tom Bilyeu, but he's like, he has crazy strict. I'm that. I'm very much that. I've noticed I tie a lot to that. So like, I need that.
So what did you have to move around to get to this podcast?
Nothing.
Okay.
No. So I honestly, so all of my stuff, I was blessed. Again, I don't know if it's a blessing. I don't know what it is. I wasn't always a morning person, I don't think. But like, I don't set an alarm clock, and I could go to bed at 1 o'clock because we were doing something, or midnight, or usually 10 or 11, and I wake up at 5 like
clockwork.
Like it's nothing. And so like, there's the 5 a.m. club, there's all those things, but the power to that, like, I promise it changed my life. And so that was the only true ritual that I hold to. Other than that, it's, sticking to a schedule and just prioritizing. This book has been a life changer. The Zig Ziglar Performance Planner. This thing is, it literally goes from walking you through setting goals to your dream list, making a dream list, what you want to do, goals, and then literally every day you're breaking down how you felt in those goals, your attitude-wise, and it's holding you accountable to those degrees. And the more you can, again, it's a game. This is a game, and the more you can be to every single fine thing, like Alex talks about, it's data will tell you everything. Like, there's nothing, you can notice trends or things in everything. Everything really is patterns in a lot of ways. So if the more you track and the more you know what's going on, easier it is to know where you're at and where you're going.
I wanted to delay the question, and it's usually the first question I ask on the podcast, but it is, what did you want to do when you were a kid?
Oh, so I would say probably my biggest dream for the longest time was to play baseball in the major leagues. But obviously I'm not tall enough, and I figured that out fast. There's certain things with that. And so, yeah, that was not a dream. And again, I guess I was blessed to, like, not be teased, because I think, I'm glad you asked that, because I think a lot of us, like, we have to realize, I think there's a big majority that get stuck in that world of living back to the accolades of sports and stay there. And that's when a big pattern for a lot of people. But and there's only a certain select because of, again, a lot of God-given things that, like, I'm not tall, and those things. But I mean, I played baseball my whole life. From the age of 5, I never played t-ball. I never played underhand or coach pitch or anything like that. It was kid pitch. I got hit every single game. I cried every single game. I wanted to quit probably every single game. My mom didn't let me quit. Thank you, Mom. But literally, like, I stuck with it, and it was fun. It obviously helped a lot of discipline and a lot of things, and let me know my love for coaching and wanting to, because after school, I went right to coaching. I was the assistant JV baseball coach of a local high school. I'll tell you that story real quick if we got time, but that was an experience in itself. So again, I was fortunate enough to have my parents have me go to a good private school because my mom worked in lunch. She was a lunch lady. So that's how we got discount. Again, thanks, Mom. But literally, like, my mom was the lunch lady. Everybody knew her. They loved her. She was in high school for some reason. My nickname was Latin. I don't know why. But so she was Mrs. Latin or Mama Latin. But which is so funny. But literally, like, I was blessed to have that. So, like, there was tryouts. There was people who wanted to be involved in sports. Now, I ended up going to, which was like an inner city, still Catholic, so it's called Cleveland Central Catholic. Ended up being their JV head baseball coach. Was supposed to be their assistant, but Chris Scott, amazing dude. I'd say probably a great mentor at that time for me in that age, but former Indians player. He played actually for the Cleveland Indians, but when they were like not the MLB. So amazing dude, amazing to learn behind. But he was like, "You be the head coach. I'll be the assistant." I'm like, "Really?" Like, okay. And back then titles are everything to kids, but literally the experience of it, because we were going around hounding kids to come play. Like, we didn't have tryouts. We were begging kids to play. And then we didn't have kids understanding next level. We were teaching, like, basic fundamentals. I'm like, whoa, okay, this is, like, what they mean. Like, the inner city, this kind of things like that. If schooling was like this and sports is like this, man, first off, that's garbage. But second off, like, whoa. So, like, but it was also the experience of that, because then we were fortunate enough until we became like the farm league for our varsity. We were fortunate enough to keep the kids together, and so we played summer ball. And so, like, our league, like our school schedule, we were trash. It was unbelievable. But then, like, even taking the kids on the bus, I'll never forget this story too. Taking the kids on the bus, the bus back from this school. I forget the school now in Ohio, but it looks like a college campus. And it has, like, track fields, pools, like crazy things. Like, what is this? Because this school was in the inner city, had nothing like that. And so we go there for a game. They have these dugouts. The field's immaculate, grass infield. I mean, it looks like a major league ball field. And so these kids love that we get spanked because they don't even have our JV team was basically our freshman and JV. We weren't big enough to have a freshman team, so we were playing their JV team, which was mostly ours as freshmen. And so we got killed. But then going back, there's gunshots. I'm like, what was that? They're like, that's gunshots. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, that's often. I'm like, are you serious? So that was like a whole nother, like, whoa. But we ended up getting to keep those kids together for the summer, and we played just a summer local rec league. Dude, we spanked everybody in that league. And then the next year, like, we were like a totally different team. Like, it was one of those stories you, like, see on, like, I'm thinking, like, man, this is kind of like a gridiron gang or something like that. Like, this is crazy. But it was so, like, amazing to be a part of, to see, like, these kids change and to be part of some of their stories and their journeys and stuff. But, like, it was, yeah, dude, that changed everything. So like, I don't even know how we got to there, but thank you for letting me go there because
No worries.
it was seriously crazy. So
Since we're both gamers, what level do you feel like that young man was?
which one?
Back when you were younger, like when you wanted to be a pro baseball player, like what
Ah.
level was he attempting the dungeon?
Ah, dude. So that's where we're again. That's that 20 to 30 dream. Have all the crazy dreams and go for all of those crazy ideas. Um, and at childhood, like live that to all the crazy ideas that you want to. But like then come to the point that like okay, like and I heard somebody say this, and this is the most powerful thing, and so I truly believe you'll never control anybody or anything, no matter what you believe or what you think you can say. But so so you can only control two things, and it's your effort and your attitude. And your effort is just again, are you going to do the work or not? And your attitude is, are you going to be happy doing the work, or are you going to have the shit, the shit attitude the whole time you try to do it, and you're just going to have shit work. But I heard them say, God, what was it? Well, repeat the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, the gamer.
Yeah. So like, what level do you think that younger DJ was at?
Oh yeah, I was in the beginning levels. That's what I'll call for anybody who feels that they're there still, even at the age 40, 50, whatever age you're at. If you feel like you're there, that's crab world. To me, that's where people aren't understanding to give the advice like Alex Hormozy is doing for so many people. Again, thank God for like Audible and YouTube and these things. I mean, YouTube changed my life. That's another book I thought of writing. Like, if it wasn't for YouTube and Audible, I wouldn't know and be talking about all of these books or these things because I don't read like that. So I'm not a book reader, but more I
Audio, visual.
you tell me or show me. You show me something one time, forget it. Like I know exactly what you did and how to do it usually, but you tell me and show me. Okay, now I don't need to read it. And I understand there's different levels of learning too, and that's a big thing to learn. And that's shout out to Jim Quick. But yeah, that's that for everybody. That's Crab Island to me, and you got to get out of there Crab World as soon as you can. And it's the barrels in the bucket. I heard a good friend of mine. I call him my Jiminy Cricket, but shout out to Glenn. But total opposite of me. Most people wouldn't even believe, but big African American Jehovah Witness. And but we are he is my Jiminy Cricket. He's who I go to for a lot of things. And but he told me when I heard somebody explain like the crab mentality and people pulling people down instead of helping them up. And I heard, that the Jewish families, like if one succeeds, five succeed because they do it together. Again, there's a lot of fundamentals there that we just need to forget to religion or whatever, like to people. Like, hey, okay, you're a good person, I'm a good person. Let's partner up together, and our apples now become bigger.
Yeah.
But that crab world is where everybody's just competing, and nobody's really wanting to help, and so it's hard to find the help. But there is the help out there. You just have to know that it's probably not in the environment you're in. And sometimes you have to go outside. But if you have that feeling inside, you have to go there. Otherwise, man, I can imagine being stuck where I felt like I was. I mean, I'll tell you, at the age of 27, I'm regional manager of a cell phone place that, again, I'm teaching the other regional managers why our 13 stores are so successful. Things are happening that I'm not understanding or connecting the dots. But in my world and environment, that was the top of the game for me. Like, regional manager. I just needed, because then that dude, greatest mentor I had, Brian, shout out Brian Pace, but he, and he was Mormon, but he literally, and only a few years older than me, but his wisdom and knowledge, and that's where I figured that out too. Like, it doesn't matter age; it's what you're learning and who you're learning from that matters most. And so it's just finding the people that have the right ideas as you, and just find them as fast as you can, because there's good people everywhere that want to help people who will put in the work. And that's what Alex is doing. That's what all these other people are doing on YouTube and stuff. They're giving a lot of gold that, again, I'd still be, truthfully, before YouTube and all of this, I'd still be chasing being a regional manager for some big corporate America company and thinking that's the top of this game.
Somewhere in Ohio.
Yeah.
What life advice would you give that young child? What life advice would you give your 7-year-old inner child now?
Best advice I give is, and I'm glad you asked that, because I literally just said this to my kids yesterday. And it's something that I've repeated to myself for a while, but I never actually said it out. And when it came out to them, I'm a big, acronyms are amazing for me. So like, and that's how I remember a lot of things. That's how I remember numbers. That's how I remember association. Association's amazing skill. People learn it. But acronyms are huge. And so H, G, and then I couldn't think of the rest, so I just went NWA, so it was easy to remember. But it's be happy with what you have, be grateful for what you get, and never want for anything at all. That's it. Like, if I would have known that then, or if anybody's listening to this and you know that now, like, there's nothing more to. Now it's just what's that inside voice? What's that 7-year-old telling you inside that they want? Now what are they telling you? Because you're happy with what you have. There's no more need for more cars, more things, this, that. You're grateful for everything that's in front of you, regardless, the good and the bad. And then just don't want, man.
Yeah.
Don't want anything.
It's very powerful. Unfortunately, we are hitting closing time.
Of course, man. No worries.
It always goes by really fast.
It's so fast. I could talk to you forever. This is seriously, dude. Thank you for this. And I'm glad. I haven't really been able to share a lot of, and I haven't felt comfortable enough. So I'll tell you, and anybody listening, like, I haven't shared a lot of these stories. So share a lot of, and there was a lot of that imposter, like. But look at me, I'm broke. Like, who am I? Like, who am I to tell these people? But then looking back, it's like, yeah, but there's a lot of people who are speaking from the rooftops and saying things that they've never even experienced the failure one time of, like, that road.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, I can tell story after, like, I'd coach. And it was honestly, thanks, shout out Coach. Again, Coach Stacy B and being able to do the Robin Hood Capitalist show, dude. But we got to talking backstage recently off air and sharing some of the stories, and he's like, he literally laughs. He's like, dude, your life is like a soap opera. I'm like, I used to be embarrassed about that and thought it was negative until I was like, yeah, but that's like, those are stories that people are probably going to learn from, and I've learned a shit ton of them, like, from these, like, I might as well share. But it's embarrassing, and you don't feel like you can share because, again, there's a lot of people, and that's what I'll tell people too. Again, and another great advice to that 7-year-old and to anybody listening, like, success is, and again, the whole back to business and rich. Like, rich is money, and if you want to be rich, good, chase money, keep chasing money. You could be as rich as you want, but, like, if you want to be wealthy, it's just like, here's a secret tip for anybody listening to this or listening to this in the future for sales. Great close and a great mentality for switch for anybody. But this was a close. I don't know where I learned it. I think it might have been a Zig Ziglar close, but I have no idea. But it's price versus cost, and it's just telling somebody, what is holding you back from doing this today? Is it the price or is it the cost? They're gonna be like, they're the same thing, and they're not. They're not. Just like rich and wealthy. Being rich and being wealthy is not. Being rich is having lots of money and things to show people. Being wealthy is having the freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want, and maximizing every moment of your time to the way that you want to do it. And that's what I think more people need to chase is wealthy and be wealthy, not rich. But back to price versus cost. So price is a one-time thing. That's up front. Cost is over the lifetime. If you think of that in your life, think about that. What are you chasing, rich or wealthy? Call it price or cost. And again, cost is you're going to go with this. You know, if you believe in your product, your service, whatever you have is the best option for that person. That's an easy close right there, because you believe that, yeah, this price might be high, might seem higher than everybody else, but the cost, if you go with a cheaper, less experienced, less whatever, what is that going to cost you? Do you have to do it over again? Do you have to do it 3 more times? Does it even work? Does it fail? Does it, you know what I'm saying?
Price versus the cost. Wow. Well, do you have any other closing comments or closing questions for me?
Dude, man. Again, just want to thank you. Seriously, this is so much fun. I love, just, and honestly, want to thank you for that. You read the DM, but like that, there's been a lot of times, and I'll tell you, that was probably close to one of those times that when I was doing this content, putting this stuff out there, I'll say in the beginning, at the end of last year, I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I'm struggling. Like, there's no benefit to what I'm doing right now. Like, this is hard. But why am I keeping up with this? And then I got a message from a guy that was listening to one of our first shows, and he's like, dude, thank you for, you know, just all the advice and you constantly giving this stuff. Like, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have made it through my first year of freight brokering. And I'm like, wow, like, just one person, that's all it takes. Like, one person saying something like that. So again, that was, I think I was in another moment at that time, but it was like, why am I doing this? Like, okay, I mean, things are not connecting. We're in the wheels are spinning. I have a lot of irons in the fire, but something's not connecting here. And so I think at those moments, like, that's that 1 inch from success. That's you're at the 1 yard line. Like, that's when you have to keep going. And again, you usually have. That's why I don't believe in any coincidence, man. Like, nothing in life. That's what I'll leave everybody with. There's nothing in life that I truly believe that's a coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. It truly does. Everything. The worst to the best, there's a lesson. There's a silver lining in it. And the faster you can find those out, especially in the hardest times, what that lesson or that silver lining is, the easier it is to get over whatever it was. But the power you have from that, it'll make you unstoppable. It makes you unstoppable. If you fail enough, you can't help but succeed. I believe that. There's enough people who say it, Les Brown, to anybody, but just keep failing. Fail forward. Les Brown, to the GOAT. If you can look up, you can get up. And just keep getting up.
Guys, this is Auxano. Execute. Make sure to keep failing forward. And as always, the grass is not greener on the other side of the fence. It's greener where you water. And to everybody listening, be well and walk tall. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Auxano.
Dude, that was fun. That was good.